Welcome back to this series of great recordings. And today I want to talk about an album that's had a profound effect on my life. And I first came across it thanks to a lovely young woman who I was madly in love with at the age of 16 called Jane Maslin. And Jane and I were at a college, and I was singer-songwriter at the time. I was desperately writing songs and expressing all my angst and passion and love and whatever it was, the topics that were in my mind. And she introduced me to a local folk club where she used to go regularly, and she got me a couple of floor spots there. And one evening we went back to her house, and we went through the record collection, and she handed me this LP. She said, "Harley, you really need to hear this. This is amazing." Now, what I didn't realize at the time was this album had actually only just come out. This would have been 74, something like that, 1974. And I see this as a real gift that she gave me, because this album really had a big impact. And I think, again, looking back, it's because of the fact that tragically, my older brother had been killed in a car crash just a few years earlier. And Jackson Browne's writing is someone who's 9 years older than me. I was born in 57, he's born in 48. And he has experienced the things that I hadn't yet experienced. He lived on another side of the world in America, imagine that. And he was able to describe the things that were happening to him at the time of writing this album, which were the things which I aspired to happening to me too one day. So I found it very interesting. And as I got older and started to experience the things that he's talking about and sharing in this wonderful album, it comforted me, and it has accompanied me ever since. And soon I will be playing some tracks from the album and talking a bit about the musicianship and all the rest of it. But before I do that, maybe a little bit of context as always. Who was Jackson Browne? Well, Jackson Browne was born in 1948 in Heidelberg in Germany. His father was a writer, I think a writer or editor or something to do with the Stars and Stripes newspaper. So he would have been stationed in Germany with the forces, US forces there. And at the age of 3, his mother and father decided to move back to America, to Los Angeles, and they stayed and lived at his grandfather's place. And actually on the front cover of this album is a picture of Jackson Browne sitting in the courtyard at his grandfather's place. And what is really cool, when I was younger, I didn't have this version of the album, but when you pull the inner sleeve out, there's a picture of it without him, and it's really lovely. It's a great picture. So this is the album. So he's 18. He comes back to America, and when he was 18, he moved to New York City and got a job in a music publishing house, but it didn't last long. He didn't stay long. I think he worked with Nico at the time there, but he soon moved back to Los Angeles and started to hang out around with the Laurel Canyon folk, many of which are playing on this album. And he was already writing songs at this stage, and many of them were beginning to be performed by other people, other bands. So, for example, Tom Rush, Nico, Steve Noonan, Greg Allman had done one of his songs already, Joan Baez, the Eagles very famously, Take It Easy, Linda Ronstadt, the Byrds. So you can see already he was at a young age being adopted as a serious songwriting talent, something that I never actually achieved. Probably for the good of, I was not as nearly as talented as Jackson Browne or virtually anyone else, to be honest with you. Anyway, we move on. So when Jackson Browne made up with David Geffen of Asylum Records, he gave him a contract, and his first album was called Jackson Browne. But But the one we're going to talk about today is this second album, For Everyman. This is the one that we really need to explore together. And I hope you enjoy what I have to share with you. Okay, let's begin. I'm going to open with the first track. It's called Take It Easy. It's one of the tracks I'm pretty sure that you will know because it was made famous by the Eagles. And it's a very good way of opening an album, especially with its bright open guitar rhythm structure. Makes you feel that you really are rolling down the road and you're traveling across California. That's how I see it anyway. But what you'll hear, a little push on the drums, doo, 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 and it's just like a nice way of pushing that boat out and saying, right, we're off. Let's have a little listen.
Running down the road, trying to loosen my load. I got 7 women on my mind. 4 they're gonna own me, 2 they're gonna stone me. 1 said she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand. Take it easy. Now I'm standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, with such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford, slowing down to have a look at me. Come on, baby, don't say maybe. I gotta know if your sweet love is gonna save me. We may lose and we may win, but we will never be here.
This album is really an album at a point in Jackson Browne's life of change. It's all of the themes that you see through it that come back somehow reflect that. With his thing, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I've got 7 women on my mind, 4 that want to own me, 2 that want to stone me, 1 says she's a friend of mine. Now, that line itself is kind of funny, it's light-hearted. And, I had a vision of his life. And, of course, I was trying to get one girlfriend, Jane, at the time. So it was kind of, he's not boasting here, but it's just funny. And he has this great song, this great chorus. Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand and take it easy. And that is the theme of the album. Finding a place where he feels he belongs and where he can relax and be himself. Now, apparently, the story goes he got stuck on the second verse and he was in an apartment or a building somewhere and Glenn Frey was upstairs and he called him down. He said, Glenn, look, I'm really stuck with this song. And then Glenn Frey comes up with the second verse, which is great, which is a really funny verse. Listen, I'll read it to you. Now, I'm standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, with such a fine sight to see. It's a girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford, slowing down to take a look at me. And then I think this is Jackson Browne. Once he's got that little bit, because we come back, come on, baby, don't say maybe. I got to know if your sweet love is going to save me. We may lose and we may win, but we will never be here again. Open up, I'm climbing in. Take it easy. And this is, I think, double entendres abound with Jackson Browne's life. He has a nice sense of humour. He's a lovely person, and the song is famous. So what I want to do next is to play you how this song transitions into the second track, Our Lady of the Well. Because my brother Damien and I, when I was much younger, when we were designing loudspeakers together and hi-fi systems, we would listen to this track, and you'll hear there's this tick 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 on the hi hats of the drummer, and also the slide guitar. And we used to be thinking about, wow, who how is that possible? Because it just keeps on going when the other track begins, and the other track begins with a real classic Jackson Browne guitar line. Or I don't know if it's him playing it. It probably is, but it's a falling guitar, da 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 bum, da 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 da, and it's falling, and you'll often hear that in Jackson Browne's work at this period of the time, these falling riffs, and it establishes a complete change of mood. Well, let's just hear it, and let's just hear it for ourselves. Yeah, this is the end of Take It Easy. Listen to the hi-hat.
It is a dance we do in silence, far below this morning sun. You and your life, me and mine, we have begun. Here we stand and without speaking, draw the water from the well, and stare beyond the plains to where the mountains lie so still. But it's a long way that I have come across the sand to find this peace among your people in the sun, where the families work the land as they have always done. Oh, it's so far the other way, my country's gone. Across my home there's no...
Yeah, well, Damien and I, we used to listen to that little slide guitar and see how long we could hear the hi-hat for. And we used to use that in a way as sort of a test to see how the tweeters are working. Could we still hear the hi-hat before the dum of the drums to say, hey, we've arrived? I also want to make a point here to talk a little bit about the production, because Jackson Browne is producing this, and I think it's very bold of David Geffen to allow him to do that at such a young age. Often you were appointed a producer, but he decides to produce it himself. And what Jackson Browne's done is he brings all collections of musicians together. So I don't know how many there are in total, about 29 on this album. And there were different groups almost for every track. And although Take It Easy can flow so beautifully into this second track, there are actually different musicians playing on here. So, for example, it's Mickey McGee's playing drums on Take It Easy, while Jim Keltner's playing drums on the second track. And yet that transition is so good, you would never know it. But let's also explore the lyrics a little bit, because I think that this transition theme, not just the music, but the theme that is picked up here by him. It's a dance we do in silence, far below this morning sun. You and your life, me and mine, we have begun. Here we stand and without speaking, draw the water from the well, and stare beyond the plains to where the mountains lie so still. But it's a long way that I have come, across the sand to find this peace among your people in the sun, where the families work the land as they have always done. Oh, it's so far the other way, my country's gone. Across my home has grown the shadow of a cruel and senseless hand, though in some strong hearts the love and truth remain. And it has taken me this distance and a woman's smile to learn that my heart remains among them, and to them I must return. But it's a long way that I have come, across the sand to find you here among these people in the sun, where your children will be born. You'll watch them as they run. Oh, it's so far the other way, my life has gone. If you look for me, Maria, you will find me in the shade. Wide awake or in a dream, it's hard to tell. If you come to me, Maria, I will show you what I've made. It's a picture of Our Lady of the Well. These are the lyrics I would have dreamt of writing and would still dream of writing to this day. Beautiful, beautiful lyrics. And yeah, the musicianship here also, we've got David Lindley and Jackson Browne both playing guitars. And they are so complementary of one another. I think they're a wonderful combination. Okay, but we need to move on. We haven't got all day, as my mother would say. So now I'm going to talk about a track called Colours of the Sun. Now, things to look out for there, as for me as a musician and a guitarist, is the use of vibrato, again with these lovely falling notes. Sometimes you'll notice a very, very slight amount of vibrato on one note and yet not on the next note. And this is a technique that a lot of classical musicians use, especially when playing composers like Mozart, for example, just a subtlest hint of vibrato and then nothing on specific notes to create that emphasis. And there's a whole discussion about whether you should or shouldn't. But listen to the playing here. It's really, really beautiful. So clean and precise. And also there's a real sense of a band playing. Okay, let's get started.
Colors of the sun flashing on the water top, echo on the land, digging for a coin, many other tiny worlds slipping past my hand. Awake to understand you are not dreaming. It is not seeming just to be this way. Dying men draw numbers in the air, dream to conquer little bits of time, scuffle with the crowd to get their share, and fall behind their little bits of
John Haeny's joined him with some harmonies on this track. Dying men draw numbers in the air, trying to capture little bits of time. I mean, his lyrics are superb, aren't they? You know, colours of the sun, flashing on the water top, echo on the land, digging for a coin, many other tiny worlds slipping past my hand. Awake to understand you are not dreaming. It is not seeming just to be this way. Dying men draw numbers in the air, dream to conquer little bits of time. I find his depth in his writing, you could say it's indulgent. I think that would be a bit unfair, because it is indulgent, because he's a young man and he's examining life and he's trying to decide where he is, who he is, where does he belong. And that's why I think it's so great that we've somehow captured that moment of it. So let's move on a little bit, because what I want to show you is how he develops choruses. In Beethoven's symphonies, as I said in a previous lecture, although they can be very long, you stay with him because every little corner he introduces a new phrase, a new melody. And Jackson Browne does exactly the same in his songs. And I'm going to take you to the chorus of this song because it is so beautiful. Have a listen to this. Well, it's not really the chorus. It's probably not the right term for it. Call it the instrumental break, the middle eight, whatever you like. But just very, very beautiful picture. But anyone who knows this album knows that the magic in the production happens at the end of this song because there is an incredible use of drumming again. And because he's using different drummers, I'm sure it's him producing, saying to a certain extent to the drummer the effect he wants to get, and then allowing them to do this. Let's have a little check here. Okay, right, here we go. And again, another track, another drummer. This is Gary Malaber. I don't know him. But he goes, chap, boom, boom. But on the last two, it's like a ba-doom. And they're both exactly the same, the second two, second pair, shall we say. I think it's deliberate. It's just to break it up, just to make those tiny little nuanced changes. And this is what makes the production so good. Well, we're rushing ahead. We are now kind of come on to the next track, the fourth track, called I Thought I Was a Child. We're back with Jim Keltner on drums. We've got David Lindley back on guitar and Bill Payne on piano and Doug Hayward on bass. Let's have a little listen to this. I love the opening line of this song.
Such a clever innocence with which you do your sorcery, as if somehow the years just bow and let that young girl go free. I thought I was a child until you turned and smiled. I thought I knew where I was going until I heard your laughter flowing and came upon the wisdom in your eyes. surprise. Spent my whole life running around, chasing songs from town to town, thinking I'd be free so long as I never let love slow me down. So lonely and so wild until you turned and smiled. By now I should have long been gone, but here I am still looking on, as if I didn't know which way to run.
Again, he's reflecting on his life choices and where he is in life. It's such a clever innocence with which you do your sorcery, as if somehow your years just bow and let that young girl go free. I thought I was a child until you turned and smiled. I thought I knew where I was going until I heard your laughter flowing and came upon the wisdom in your eyes. This could be me and Jane. This could be, I think, lots of us at different points of our life. And this is so where he was at the time and where I wanted to be. Have a listen to this. I spent my whole life running round, chasing songs from town to town, thinking I'd be free so long as I never let love slow me down. So lonely and so wild until you turned and smiled. By now I should have long been gone, but here I am still looking on, as if I didn't know which way to run. This is writing at its very, very best, in my opinion. So now we're going to come to the big track of the album at that time, because the next track is These Days, and this was made famous by Greg Allman. And this shows you a little bit of something about the man as well, because when it comes to the album credits and notes here, it's Jackson Browne actually writes here, the arrangement was inspired by Greg Allman. So when Jackson Browne had written the song These Days, he hadn't thought of a kind of slower, more melancholic version. He heard Greg Allman's version, and that's worth looking up, to be honest. It's a very nice version. But he thinks, I'm going to do it in a similar way. He doesn't do it the same. He can't sing like Greg Allman. He hasn't got the voice for it. So he does it in his own way. And with David Lindley's lovely slide guitar. Again, Doug Hayward is playing bass. Beautiful bass playing, more or less through. I have to say, the bass is the one element Doug is with him on most of these tracks, to be honest. Let's have a little listen to Jackson Browne's These Days.
Well, I've been out walking. I don't do that much talking these days. These days. These days I seem to think a lot about the things that I forgot to do for you, and all the times I had the chance to. And I had a lover, but it's so hard to risk another.
great poets, great writers, they plant a seed in one line and then qualify it or go deeper on the next. And he does this so well. He says, "These days I seem to think a lot about the things that I forgot to do for you, and all the times I had the chance to." And it's that extra element, thinking, we all feel guilty, don't we, about things that we forget to do and we promise and we forget to do it. Oh, I should have done. It comes back. And then he's reflecting on, and all the times he had the chance to do it. I had a chance and I could have done it then and I didn't. So this is someone who's really soul searching. But this is the last track on side one of the LP. And I think it's important to understand LPs, because if you listen to this on a CD or streaming, it doesn't quite work. Yes, it sounds really good, because I have to say the streaming quality is really good, and there's a remastered one that works really, really well. But it blends side one to side two in a very cruel way, because side one ends very, well, not dramatically, but very profoundly is the word I think I'm looking for here. Let's hear to the end of side one. Long fade out, and you can almost hear the needle going in to the center, going duk-dum, duk-dum, duk-dum. And there's a line, just 2 lines before that ending comes, and they are, for me, very profound, and they had a big effect on my life. There are things that I keep coming back to and even repeat in my head sometimes. He sings on his last verse, well, I'll keep on moving. Things are bound to be improving these days, one of these days. These days I'll sit on cornerstones and count the time in quarter tones to 10, my friend. Don't confront me with my failures. I haven't forgotten them. And there have been so many times in my life when when you're with someone who's constantly saying, oh, you should have done this, you should have done that, and you should have done this. And in my head, it's like, don't confront me with my failures. I haven't forgotten them. And I find that a great ending to side one. Now, when we come to side two, of course, this is something completely different. And I didn't like the opening to side two when I was younger because, well, the track's called Redneck Friend. It's full of double entendres where he's meeting some young girl and he's trying to whisk her off, and yeah, you know what, I don't need to go into details. And it's funny and it's fast moving. And I thought it was I was too serious when I was younger. Everything was so intense and the writing had to be perfect, and life was like Beethoven and tragedy and stuff like that. And I had some tragedy in my life, and there was no doubt about it. But it's the angst that a lot of young people have. And here was Jackson Browne having this very, very frivolous song. But today I can listen to it, laugh, because it's kind of funny. But it's also a great rocking number.
Pretty little one,
great rock track. And actually, David Lindley's guitar playing there is fabulous, isn't it? But did you spot the piano playing? Well, the piano playing is credited here to that, the typical rock and roll piano sound playing is Rockadee Johnny. Well, apparently it's Elton John. And the story goes that Elton John was in LA and he didn't have a work permit, so he wasn't officially allowed to work at that time. So he had to do it under another name. But when you hear it, you hear that's Elton John, right? It's just, even though he's playing classic rock and roll piano, when someone says to you, oh, that's Elton John, you think, yeah, that's got to be, isn't it? It's recorded in Sunset Sound Studios at the time. Just for as a matter of information, you may have thought. So Elton John was probably hanging around there at that point in his life. So now we're getting back onto the more serious side of the album and the things which are really have an impact on me. And this track, especially, The Times You've Come, I think is very, very sincere. It's deep. I think it's universal. And I strongly believe that this universality of the feeling, the fact that the poet can portray exactly what they're going through without it becoming crass, is a very, it's a skill, it's a craft. Is this album the work of a genius? No, I don't think Jackson Browne's a genius. I think some of the things he does are genius, or the musicians around him. I think he's an extremely gifted craftsman of the highest level who's able to project and convey the experiences that he's had. But genius for me is when you can go beyond that. And there are very, very few. I'm talking Beethoven, Mozart, and some other people who will be I will mention in future talks, but not right now. I don't feel ready for it. But let's listen to this wonderful song. It's called The Times You've Come. The critic from I've forgotten the name of the magazine now. Rolling Stone, of course, silly me. Rolling Stone. Janet Maslin. She talked about this album when she reviewed this album coming out. It got a pretty good reception from the critics and less good commercial success, but later on it was rated pretty high in the all-time great albums lists. But Janet Maslin said that he was intimate and universal at the same time, and I think this song hits that nail right on the head. The Times You've Come.
In the time we've known that we each are a part of one another, we've lost as much as we have won. And as our lives have grown, we have found that it only brings us pain to hang on to the things that we have done. Still I love the times you've come.
again, you've got these falling guitars, da, 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 dum, beautifully flowing downwards. And these wonderful lyrics, in the time we've known that we each are a part of one another. We've lost as much as we have won. And as our lives have grown, we have found that it only brings us pain to hang on to the things that we have done. Still, I love the times you've come. When you went away, taking all that I'd built my false road on, I dropped my life and couldn't find the pieces. Now you come and go, and it's hard, but I feel my strength returning. We'll see how far this new road reaches. We see a little more each time we come. And then we have this beautiful lifting chorus, which only Jackson Browne can write. Listen to this.
Everybody's gonna tell you it's not worth it. Everybody's gotta show you their own pain. You may try to find your way up around it, but the need for love will still remain. Now we're lying here, so safe in the ruins of our pleasure.
What can I say? Now we're lying here so safe in the ruins of our pleasure. Laughter marks the place where we have fallen. And our lives are near, so it wouldn't occur to us to wonder if it's the past or the future that is calling. You know, I love these times you've come. This is, for me, the best that humans can do at communicating what they experience and what they do without it becoming sentimental. It's real. For me it is anyway, and I hope it is for you too. Now we're coming to a very important song on the album, because I see this album as a collection of songs, but not just from his first album. He has whatever he's written, he's scrambled together. There's a theme, obviously, that's running through it, the past and the future. Is this the past or the future that is calling? This is all the way through this album of momentous change. And there is nothing bigger in life than the change that he's going to talk about now in the next song. And the next song's called The Times You've Come. Sorry, and the next, sorry, that was the last track. The next track is going to be called Ready or Not. And there is nothing more life-changing, I think, for most people than the topic he's got now, Ready or Not.
Someone's gonna have to explain it to me. I'm not sure what it means. My baby's feeling funny in the morning. She's having trouble getting into her jeans. The waistline seems to be expanding, although she never feels like eating a thing. I guess we'll reach some understanding when we see what the future will bring. Better in a crowded barroom, one of those typical Hollywood scenes. I was doing my very best Bogart, but I was having trouble getting into the jeans. I punched an unemployed actor, defending her dignity. He stood up and knocked me
There's another really good lyric here. He's just singing there. I told her I had always lived alone, and I probably always would. And all I wanted was my freedom, and she told me that she understood. But I let her do some of my laundry, and she slipped a few meals in between. The next thing I remember, she was all moved in, and I was buying her a washing machine. That is so true of my life. But of course, it doesn't mean that he's going to regret this at all. He's just observing what's going on, and he's being honest about it. Because the next line is, now baby's feeling funny in the morning. She says she's got a lot on her mind. Nature didn't give her any warning, but she's feeling better about it all the time. She says she's ready for some meaning after all of her running around. Well, bless my soul, she's got a rock and roll band man thinking about settling down. Yeah. The tragedy of this song is the fact that it's a true story. It's about a woman he meets in a bar called Phyllis Major, who was I think a model at the time. And they have quite apparently sort of a little bit of a tempestuous relationship. And I think perhaps even that the song before, At the Times You've Come, may have been referring to her. But here she is now, she's pregnant, announcing that she's pregnant. He's getting used to the idea. He's thinking, she's thinking about, okay, none of this running around, I'm going to want something more. They do end up getting married 2 years after this album comes out in 75, but very tragically, she ends her life just a year later in 76. And if you know the album of his, The Pretender, which is another album I really, really like. Pretender's more polished in many ways. It's is it better structured? I don't know. I like the rawness of this. I like the idea that David Lindley's just filling the violin part on that last track. It's just a continual sound, a bit like you would play a Hammond organ. That the musicians are really given this freedom. I like that very much. Oh, we're getting towards the end of the album yet. We're not there yet, though. The next track is Sing My Songs to me. And this is the closest I think I would get to writing in his style. It's quite indulgent, the concept of someone having their songs sung to them. But it's very, very beautiful. And it's going to feature some very interesting musicians, none the less than Joni Mitchell, but we'll pick up on her later on. Back with David Lindley, of course. Bass is Wilton Felder, and Gary Malaber's back on drums, but we've got an organ coming in, Michael Utley. That's because this is going to fade into the For Everyman final track, but I'm not going to take that far yet. We're just going to play the opening of this very reflective song. Now, what Jackson Browne does on a number of these songs is that he will have two verses, and then he'll break into what is traditionally considered a chorus or a middle eight or whatever you want to call it. And so you're in this kind of dark mood. And again, he's going to give us some sunshine in the chorus and hope and lift. And it's through all of these tracks on this album. So things to listen to out for here is he's lifting us out of the melancholy with these wonderful phrases. But listen out to Joni Mitchell on the left here, playing the electric piano. Now, if you're going to bring Joni Mitchell into a recording session, you would imagine she'd be coming in to sing or play the guitar at least. But no, she's got the piano and she's got the electric piano. Now, when you hear closely, and this room mic is not going to do anything justice to what I'm actually hearing, unfortunately, but still listen to it on the streaming if you would like. Listen out for her playing, because she's playing a little bit of what you might think is obvious, but then ever so often she's bringing in these really nice augmented chords that give you extra colour and detail, but it's very, very subtle in the background. And so she's being Joni, like she has with her open tunings on her guitars, on this really classic track.
Bring my dreams to me.
Here we go.
Because it seems to me that there may never be a better chance to see who I am, come timelessly dancing through my dreams to me.
Now, as this transition progresses, listen out for the thunderous, ominous. Here we go.
Everybody I talk to is ready to leave with a light of morning. They've seen the end coming down long enough to believe.
What a amazing transition from one track to the other. The album starts with this great transition between Take It Easy and Our Lady of the World, and it's ending with another amazing transition. And this I sense all the way through of the drums pushing at important moments everything forward, saying, come on, we can do this. It's almost, I don't know what he was thinking, whether he intellectualized about it, but for me it's a bit like saying, come on, it's going to be all right, let's just get through this. On a life level, music level, whatever, but for me it works incredibly well. And again, we have, different musicians on the last track. So we've obviously got organ coming in, piano, Michael Utley. I think he's credited on Sing My Songs to Me because there's a transition where one ends and one begins. But I'm going to stop talking and just play you the next track for Everyman chorus. Listen out for David Crosby this time for the harmonies. Like really all of the harmonies through this album, all with different people, but they all seem to work so well, and they all sound rather similar in their own way, that the blend is so natural with Bonnie Raitt or David Crosby. Now, I think he's chosen extraordinarily well for his album.
Well, with a few of my friends, I could give up the race and maybe find something better. But all my fine dreams, well thought out schemes to gain the motherland have all eventually come down to waiting for every man.
Here we go. Now, this is the big moment on the album. Lyrically, he's singing here, I'm waiting here for every man. Make it on your own if you think you can. If you see somewhere to go, I understand. I'm not trying to tell you that I've seen the plan. Turn and walk away if you think I am. But don't think too badly of one who's left holding sand. He's just another dreamer, dreaming about every man. And this is, I think, sums up his life in this album. And I'm just going to play you out the end of the album to conclude it, because again, we've got this incredible, it's not a drum roll, but it's a da-da-da-da-da-da-da on the tom that's just going to push us gently forward to what I consider to be really an amazing ending of a very, very special album.
Dreaming about every man.
And sometimes when I listen to this album, I listen to it on both sides through, and I'm sitting there. You can't help but reflect on your life, listen to his songs. And there's mistakes on this song. There's a number of places where the musicians are making mistakes, or it's not that clean and his voice isn't quite in tune. And today it would all be modernized and everything would be used with auto-tune and things would be edited out and corrected. But here it's not, and it's raw and it's real, and I think that's what makes such a big impression on me even today. But I also sit and wonder sometimes, because I loved that Jane, and she was such a lovely girl. She came into my life, but she had eyes for someone else, as is the case when you're 16 years old. And she was going to leave college when she passed her A-levels, and she was going to go to teacher training college, and hopefully with this other guy. And I sometimes wonder whether Jane ever did go to teacher training college. She probably did with him. Maybe they got married, maybe they had children, maybe they are living in the sun, who knows. But the one thing, obviously, I hope she had a very happy and lovely life indeed. I've had a wonderful life and still am enjoying life. But I do wonder from time to time whether Jane still picks out this album, Jackson Browne for Everyman, and plays it to herself. If you have been, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, enjoy the music.